Hello,
Thank you.
Eva.
Oh, it's still. Oh, God.
Oh,
Hi, Jessica. Thank you for meeting with me.
thanks,
Um,
Eva.
yeah, it's great to have you. So, I have three questions for you. The first question is, what does the theme of International Women's Day 2021 mean to you?
The theme of this International Women's Day and the idea of making a choice for something that you're going to challenge, at first was kind of difficult, but eventually I decided that I'm going to choose to challenge myself to get involved in student advocacy by listening to the challenges that the women of color in our program are facing so that I can make a meaningful contribution to our program and to MRU.
I really like that. I do that as well. Should make that a personal goal. All right. My second question is, what advice do you have about how to take on leadership opportunities?
My advice would be to let your passions guide you, to let your values and beliefs inform the way you work and live, to voice your passions and concerns to those around you, and to be an advocate in your workplace and at home and in your community.
Thank you. My third question is, what are some of the obstacles that you may have faced and how did you overcome them?
Working at MRU means working with highly educated and articulate people. And one of the biggest challenges that I face is feeling like I can't contribute to the conversation. And I try to overcome this by listening to what others have to say and by speaking from my experiences. And also by doing my homework and reflecting on a conversation that's coming up and making some notes about what I can contribute. I feel like as a person of color, an MRU graduate, and an admin assistant, my perspectives are just as important and valid. And I owe a lot to my colleagues for making me feel included in conversations. Because if there's ever a time during a meeting where they don't hear from me, they'll make a point to ask me what my thoughts are. And this makes me feel valued.
Thank you. That was a great answer. All right. Well, thank you for meeting with me.
No
Uh,
problem. Thanks for the chance.
Thank you for meeting with me.
Hi, Eva. Thank you for inviting me.
All right. And so I have a few questions for you. The first question is, what does the theme of International Women's Day 2021 mean to you?
Oh, that's a very good question. Well, the theme. I believe it's choose to challenge, uh, and it. It could mean so many things when I think about it, but in particular when I think about what's what has gone on in the past year, in particular, not just COVID, but with the racial violence that has occurred in the States and Canada as well. Just looking at um, equity, diversity, inclusion, and thinking about what does that mean for us, and where can I influence and change how we do things to make just to make our work environment and our community a more diverse and equitable, inclusive place. So for me, that's a challenge. That's a challenge that I've given myself. But I'd also like to be the person who um, can really be there to support others and to facilitate that change at a systemic level as well.
Thank you, Liz. That was a great answer. All right. My second question for you is, what advice do you have about how to take on leadership opportunities?
Yeah, that's also a good question. I have to say, looking back now, I think to myself, if I knew then what I know now, I would do things so much differently. If I were 20 now, I would certainly approach my life and the challenges I took on differently. So, looking at it from this perspective, I say um, we all have the capacity to be leaders, and I believe that we all probably are in our own way, right? We all take on roles where we're leaders, but I really think stepping up into those some of those leadership roles that were traditionally we didn't see women in those roles, and we certainly didn't see diversity in those roles. I think we really all have to, as women, we need to sort of take on that challenge and not be afraid. And I guess that would be, for me, that would have been the message that I would have given my 20 or 25-year-old self, is don't be afraid to step in, because what is it about you that makes you different from other people? Why, if someone else can do it, you can do it too. And you'll bring your own strengths to that, and you'll bring your own weaknesses to that as well. But nobody's perfect. And I think giving yourself permission to not be perfect, and to be willing to step in and look for help when you need it. That would be my advice to young women and not so young women. It's never too late to step in and really look at some of those roles. We still have a ways to go in terms of where we need to see women in the boardroom or wherever. And I'd really like to challenge all of us, including myself. I mean, I'm in this leadership role now, and I didn't step up into a leadership role in this capacity until I was, nearing retirement. I think it could happen a lot sooner for a lot more people. And I'd like to see that, and I'd like to be there to help others do that. And that's actually what I kind of see, and that's where I see myself right now. I'd really like to be that person. I'm trying to figure out how is it that I can help others or facilitate others to see that in themselves, so that they feel, yeah, you know what, I see that position has come up in the school or the faculty or the university. Why don't I apply for that job? And really kind of see how they can contribute in a way. And not that they're not contributing now. I mean, all of the roles are important, but to feel that they have it in themselves to step into those leadership roles is critical. And I think that's a hard challenge for us. I think it's probably a hard challenge for everyone, but I think particularly for women, and in particularly for women who are, in situations where they don't even have the role models there to help get them to that spot. So, yeah.
Thank you. That is fabulous advice. It's very good advice. My third question is, what are some of the obstacles that you may have faced, and how did you overcome them?
Oh, obstacles. Well, probably I was probably my biggest obstacle myself. Not sure how uncommon that is, but I can only speak for myself. But when I look at my daughter, I think, yeah, it's probably, I see what I think she can do, and she doesn't think she can do it. So for me, I think that's probably I've been my own biggest obstacle in many ways. I think I grew up in a household that I grew up in a farming family. I grew up in a small town, small rural, town in Ontario, and my family were immigrants, and so we had our own challenges. I mean, I had a lovely life in many ways, but we also had some major challenges. So I didn't see leadership roles like the one I'm in now. That wasn't even on the horizon. I mean, getting to university was probably not even on the horizon in many ways. So I think getting sort of over some of those initial challenges in my teenage years, that was probably part of the challenge then. But I think once I kind of saw, yeah, I can do this, and sort of got on my path. Well, I think, again, coming back to me being ready to take on some of those roles, again, was probably the biggest challenge for me. But then I had some great mentors as I moved through my career, and really saw how they operated. And from that, sort of got up the courage to kind of step in to these roles in a more formal way. I'd say I probably was doing some of it in an informal way my last 20 years potentially as a faculty member at Queen's. But yeah, really kind of seeing friends and colleagues and how they operated and how they were inclusive, probably gave me the courage to step in to a leadership role at this point.
Thank you, Liz. Oh, those are all the questions I have. So I appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
I guess I'll get working on that, and I'll send you a copy when it's
okay.
done today.
Oh,
so I have
thank you.
My first question is, what does the theme of International Women's Day 2021 mean to you?
Really an opportunity for all of us to celebrate women and their leadership, but also it's a way for us collectively to be authentic and to look at ways that we can help create an inclusive world.
Thank you. All right. My second question is, what advice do you have about how to take on leadership opportunities?
Yeah, I think it's really important for people to define what leadership means to them and to have really clear vision and purpose about why do you even want a leadership opportunity. And my advice is to watch and learn from others, allowing yourself to be mentored by people from all levels of your workplace, and working, for me anyway, to bring my levels of consciousness together to understand who I am as a person, how I'm showing up in this world. And with that, again, going back to vision and purpose, how am I trying to use that in the work that I do? And go where you're invited.
Oh, that is great advice. All right, my third question is, what are some of the obstacles that you may have faced and how did you overcome them?
You ask in past tense as though they're all overcome, and I think it's an ongoing journey. But some of it is around having to deal with changes in personal and professional identities, whether that's a change or a difference in some friendship circles, who I could rely on perhaps when I wasn't in a leadership role versus who I have to rely on when I am in a leadership role. That takes some navigation. Again, I will say returning to my own vision and my own purpose for the work that I do is really important, and to make sure that that vision and that purpose is also something that's collaborative and shared by other people in addition to just myself. So remembering that I'm part of a team. How I overcome them, or try to, I suppose, trying to remember to always shine brightly, and also always remembering to plan and to build something 7 years beyond myself. So thinking into the future as to how I want systems set up for the next person to take over past me. I find putting my energy into building is really one way to overcome whatever obstacle it feels in my way at this moment in time.
Oh, that was wonderful. Thank you, Yasmin. All right, well, I'll stop recording and we will, yeah, I think